Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in this new episode of Future Made Clear Live Q&A. I'm Michael Delle Selve, Head of Marketing and Communications at FEVE. FEVE is the Federation of European Manufacturers of Glass Bottles, Flacons, and Jars for the food, beverage, perfumery, cosmetics, and pharmaceutical sectors. To understand what we want to talk about today, let me put you into the picture for 1 second. Imagine you are in a supermarket doing your shopping. In front of you, a product sits on the shelf, placed beside many competing options. At that moment, the packaging material becomes the brand's only voice. It doesn't just contain the product inside, it also sends signals, sometimes subtle, sometimes powerful, about what the product is, what the brand stands for, and why a consumer should prefer and choose it over the next one to it. Packaging instantly triggers impressions, expectations, and beliefs. And that's exactly why understanding these subconscious reactions is so important and why we run this study with mind in sight. To unpack the outcomes of the study, I'm joined by three exceptional experts who bring together the scientific, strategic, and industry perspectives. Professor Gordy Players is a leading scientific expert in the analysis and influence of consumer perceptions and behaviors. He's a professor of neuromarketing at the University of Leuven in Belgium. He's also the global coordinator of Mind Insights, a scientific organization led by university professors using the most advanced research methods to understand how consumers react to products and what shapes those reactions. These professors are the team behind the study we are presenting today. Marie-Rose Sucé is a global marketing director at OI and an accomplished leader who previously shaped global brand growth at Procter & Gamble. She brings a unique combination of scientific marketing expertise and creative brand building. Her focus is on how packaging can create meaningful emotional connections that drive preference and loyalty. Today, she will help us translate the study findings into clear, practical implications for brands and marketeers. And Marie-Astrid Gosset is Group Marketing Director at Verallia. She brings over 20 years of strategic and operational marketing experience from major fast-moving consumer goods companies like Danone and Britvic. Marie-Astrid works closely with brands across Europe on packaging strategy and innovation, and she will share how these insights resonate from an industry perspective and what they mean for future product category and positioning. Before going ahead, I understand we have some 250 people registered. I rely on you all to make the debate even more interesting with your questions. We will take some of them at the end of the debate if time allows. And also stay tuned with us along the whole debate. We'll soon share information on how to get access to a toolkit on the study. So a big welcome to the three speakers, and let's start with the debate. Gordy, I start with you. You have been studying how packaging design shapes consumer perceptions for many years. Could you tell us a bit more about this study and how it came about?
Yes, of course. First, hello, everyone, and thank you, Michael, for the introduction. Well, scientific research highlights the decisive role that product design can have on consumers' reactions and even purchasing behavior. And I continuously conduct studies in this field, so examining the influence of various design elements that can be found in packaging. You may think of colors, shapes, typefaces, visuals, decorative elements, etc. And these studies clearly show how different design elements can shape consumers' reactions at multiple levels, including, for example, capturing attention, generating positive emotion, automatically activating beliefs, values in consumers' mind, and even inducing sensory perceptions about the product. And this is truly fascinating. And this year, one of my objectives was to conduct a new study on the influence of one particular design element, which was the packaging material. And as you know, your federation suggested applying it to the sparkling water category, which was an excellent idea.
Thanks, Gordy. And could you give us a quick overview of the methodology behind this type of scientific studies and how they are usually carried out, just to understand more about the methodology? Yeah.
Okay, I will try to explain this very briefly. Okay, so the methodology conducted are based on advanced scientific tools, expertise, and it allows us to determine the causal impact of the specific design element that is being examined. And to do this, I typically expose a sample of consumers to different design options, product design options, and those options vary only in the design element of interest, with everything else being equal, everything else being constant. And within a laboratory environment, where all external factors can be carefully controlled. And in the recent study we are discussing here, the design element was the type of packaging used for the sparkling water category. And as you can see in the image I asked to display right here, the study required creating fictitious brands that met several methodological criteria and producing 3 packaging versions of each product: a glass bottle, a PET bottle, and an aluminum can. And the principle of varying only the element at the center of the study while keeping everything being equal, everything else being equal, that makes it possible to isolate the causal influence of that element on consumers' reactions by removing many unwanted influences. And in this context, when I have to examine the perceptions activated towards the product, I can use scientific measures that capture these perceptions in a precise and reliable way, including at a kind of non-conscious level. And this allows us to obtain authentic reactions and to avoid limitations and problems that can happen with methods relying only on explicit direct questions about the product, like, for example, does this product evoke a sense of quality? Does this product inspires trust, etc. But after, I don't think I have time here to go into detail on those methodological aspects. So I hope that what I try to explain is relatively clear for everyone.
It is clear. It is clear, and
Okay.
yeah, indeed, the study is much more than what we can explain in 30 minutes here. So indeed, we need to go through the study in a different session, but it's all clear. Thanks a lot, Gordy. Before we move on to the findings, I would like to ask you, Marie-Laure, as a packaging producer and also brand partner, how important is to understand the effect of packaging materials on consumer perceptions, and why should brands care about that?
So here's the thing. Packaging is not just a container, right? It is a conversation with consumers. And as Professor Player said, every element of the pack sends a message. And so this study shows that packaging material matters too. It's not just the design. The material also sends a message. It is part of the conversation, whether we intend it to be or not. And if it's part of the conversation, then it is a strategic level. So packaging material is not just about cost or logistics or compliance. This study flips the script. It is a brand signal. And what really excites me here is that the depth of the insights that we got from the study is not just surface level opinion. It is uncovering subconscious cues that influence how people feel about a product. And that matters because feelings drive desirability. So why should brands care? Well, when you align, product positioning with packaging design and packaging material, then everything will send a coherent message. And so you're building a seamless story that strengthens your brand equity instead of diluting it. And then as an industry, it matters to us too, because packaging is at the risk of becoming a commodity. And the study shows it's anything but a commodity. It's not just a cost center. It can be a value driver if you leverage it with intention. So learning about these insights it can be a game changer for brands that want to lead with authenticity and emotions and win on trust.
Indeed, very interesting, Marie-Laure. So, focusing on the results now, back to you, Gordy. We know this study examined the impact of packaging materials on various dimensions, such as product quality and taste. Could you tell us more about how consumers perceived different packaging options in relation to these factors?
Okay, this was really a large study that examined various types of perceptions and beliefs and even behaviors relating to packaging and packaging material. So it therefore generated many interesting findings, far too many to be summarized here. I think that's it. Regarding the two criteria you just mentioned, so it was quality and taste. I can give some main findings here. The results clearly show that projects activate the notion of quality and the notion of sensory pleasure significantly more when the packaging is a glass bottle compared to the two other types of containers. And this conclusion was consistent for both non-flavored and flavored sparkling water. Now, specifically regarding the sensory pleasure, I would add two things. The first is that the findings align with scientific research showing that packaging design elements can influence consumers' aromatic taste perceptions. And this is obviously very important for brands to consider. And my second addition here is that I think it is interesting to note that the study also shows that one advantage of the glass bottle is that it does not generate concerns that the packaging may alter the taste of the beverage.
Thanks a lot, Gordy. Very, very interesting. Now, Maria Astrid, as a packaging manufacturer with experience in this kind of studies, you have quite a lot of experience with these methodologies. Could you explain us why the industry decided to conduct this study and why were these specific criteria selected?
Thanks, Michael. So yes, I've had the privilege of conducting several neuromarketing studies with Professor Gordy Player in order to understand the unconscious impact of packaging design choices on consumer perception. And my finding is that neuromarketing data are really valuable insights that are an excellent complement to our customer own research. And they bring actionable insights that really can help the impact of the packaging on shelf by orienting design choices. So for this new FEVE research, the objective was clearly to focus on the unconscious and the conscious drivers of product desirability. And the objective ultimately is to understand how packaging material choice and how glass can help drive category value creation. So we've seen that quality and taste are the main drivers of product desirability, and glass excels in both areas. It helps elevate brand and product perceived value. So in a way, quality was expected. We know that glass is often associated to premium touch and feel, so that was probably a confirmation of what we thought would happen. But the learning on taste were really interesting, and the fact that glass can help improve taste projection, taste expectation, both on flavored and unflavored sparkling water, for me really show that glass is seen by consumer as a superior way to protect product integrity and taste intensity. So brands often manage a portfolio of packaging solutions that are tailored to specific occasion and specific channel. So for me, the key learning of this research is that glass has got an exceptional or unique role in driving product desirability its ability to project and enhance taste expectation, quality expectation, makes it a strong recruitment driver for brands who are looking to recruit new consumers and to improve their premium positioning.
Really, really fascinating. So it's really how the material is somewhere driving consumer experience subconsciously. So this is, yes, in a way we knew about that, but having this proof, scientific proof that there is a subconscious emotional link of the material with the consumer behavior, it's actually revealing. So let's now turn to the two dimensions that increasingly influence consumer behavior today in the societal context we live: environmental responsibility and health. And I come back to you, Gordy, again. So regarding these two areas, which key findings from the study would you highlight?
Okay, so eco-responsibility and health. This is a very good question because scientific research highlights that today consumers' perceptions regarding eco-responsibility and health can be important drivers to consider across many product categories. So first, regarding the eco-responsibility dimension, the results show that this notion is activated more strongly when sparkling water is presented in a glass bottle. And there are several complementary findings that support this kind of superiority of glass packaging in terms of perceived eco-responsibility. For example, the study also shows that there is a large majority of French consumers who perceive glass packaging as recyclable, and this perception is not as strong for the other packaging types. And in addition to that, the results also show that there is a large majority of French consumers that they state that they are willing to engage in a deposit return system for glass bottle, and that they consider the eco-responsibility of sparkling beverage packaging to be important and influential in their purchasing behavior, so in the decision-making process. And in addition to this, there's an additional complementary section of the study that measures what we call environmental concern of the French population using a long scientifically validated questionnaire. And this concern turned out to be relatively high. So to me, it clearly highlights that in terms of consumer reactions toward product, it is very relevant for brands to develop, I would say, strong solutions and also a strong positioning relating to eco-responsibility. Now you also raised about a question about the health dimension. So here I'm just going to give a quick input because I know that time is short. The study examined two aspects: the concern that the packaging could be considered unhealthy, and then the concern that it could release harmful particles into the product, so into the beverage. And the results indicate that the two concerns are almost non-existent for glass packaging and more present for the two other types of packaging, especially the concern about harmful particles in the drink for plastic, so PET bottles. That's it.
Thank you, Gordy. And again, the study is much more than that, and there are a lot of many other insights on these topics. But let's go back to Marie-Laure. And yeah, as we said, you have a lot of experience with global brands. Which of these findings you think will matter most to them?
So I don't think you can say one will matter most. I think it will depend on the brand and their positioning and their equity. But really what these findings do is it's like they give a roadmap to brands for packaging mix decision. So I'll connect a few dots between what we're talking about, that seamless story and packaging mix and what glass stands for. So Marie-Astrid highlighted something essential. It's like brands don't use just one packaging material. They manage a portfolio of packaging solutions. So depending on the equity or the occasion or the channel, these findings give them a clearer roadmap on how to leverage each material and how to really benefit or unleash the strength of each material. And of course, for us, what matters is what it means for glass, right? But a few examples. Professor Playa was talking about health and eco-responsibility, and glass scores consistently higher on these two dimensions. The fact that these two dimensions drive more and more purchase decisions and brand loyalty, if your brand is positioned on these, or if your product is positioned on those themes, then glass should be part of your mix for sure. Or if you're looking to premiumize one of your product or portfolio, then what the study shows is that glass instantly conveys this higher quality perception or this higher value perception. So again, this gives you a roadmap on how to use the materials. And now we know cost pressures are also part of, they're real and they're part of the mix decision. But I'd like to encourage brands to think about this is when you put so much effort into building your brand equity, let's maybe not dilute it with extreme cost savings on the one brand asset that is actually the one brand asset that is present in store, so at moment of purchase and at consumption. This is really the asset that consumers will experience your brand with. So that asset needs to tell your story. And so use these insights to be, even more intentional with the conversation with consumers.
Okay, very clear, Marie-Laure, and I think it's clear really the invitation to brands to cooperate with the industry on these insights. Looking at Gordy, I come back to you, and based on your broader research, how do you see these perceptions evolving in the future?
Okay, in the future, this is of course a complex question. What I could say here, so at least based on the study and also on previous studies we have conducted, my assumption is that the differences observed between glass packaging and the other materials will persist. Because first, I would say that the differences observed are quite large. And second, the pattern of results are quite consistent if you look at the results. So I mean, they are consistent both across related criteria, so relating to specific dimensions, and also across the two product categories that we used. But I also think that several factors could influence how perceptions may evolve in the future. For example, I think of changes in consumers' familiarity with different types of packaging in the product categories. This familiarity could evolve in favor of one material or another material. And as another influencing factor, a greater number of consumers are likely to become sensitive to sustainability and or health issues in the coming years. And so as a result, it could generate a more favorable attitude toward glass packaging among an even larger proportion of the population, at least as long as they continue to perceive glass as better on eco-friendly and health dimensions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I understand you don't have the crystal ball, but already these insights on the future assumptions are really revealing and interesting. So, Maria Astrid, I come back to you on the industry perspective. And so, how do you see these perceptions shifting in the future?
Well, as pointed out by Gordy, consumers increasingly want to take care of their health and of the planet. And we as an industry believe that in the future, what will matter the most is actually the overall consumption experience and the feel-good factor that you get from a consumption which is aligned with your health and environmental principles. So this research highlights the fact that glass is already providing the most pleasant consumption experience. And this will remain true in the future because of several things. So the first thing is on the health side, consumer trust glass to be a naturally healthy and safe packaging. thanks to its inertness and its ability to protect product integrity. Glass can be endlessly recycled and reused, and with no compromise on safety. And clearly, consumers know and want this certainty in a context of increasing uncertainty. The second point I would like to emphasize is actually on the environmental side. Glass is one of the most circular packaging solution with an already efficient bottle-to-bottle loop, and its carbon footprint will decrease thanks to a strong industry decarbonation plan. So those facts will certainly nurture the already positive environmental perception that the consumer have of glass. And then the last point that makes me optimistic about the future is that glass allows bold designs, and the latter really nurture or support engaging brand storytelling, and they offer an exceptional touch and feel experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie-Astrid. I think this last point is also particularly important today in the context we live, design and the unique asset of glass in really molding the identity of brands and products. It has to be put forward and also defended by us and brands. So to wrap up, and before we open the floor to the questions, Marie-Laure, how can brands put these findings into practice? How can they action them? And are there opportunities to collaborate with our industry?
Yeah. So first, I'd say if they're not doing it already, just including the packaging material choice, not just design, within their brand strategy discussions, I think is the first step. The second is think about portfolio and price pack architecture. And if you don't have glass today in your portfolio, then definitely dive into the findings of the study and see based on how your brand is positioned, where glass could add value, because it definitely has value to add in a portfolio mix. And then the third one is activating storytelling. So since, packaging and even the material is conveying messages subconsciously, you can activate that also in your content. So it would be perceived as authentic and coherent by consumers because they already perceive those subconsciously. So why not, if glass signals elevated moments, then you can talk about that or convey that also in your campaigns. And that matches the product that is being featured. And then finally, Michael, you were talking about collaborating with us. So if you're working on other categories than just sparkling water, we'd love, and if you're interested in similar data, we'd love to run more studies and uncover also what packaging material can mean in other categories. Or if you're working in sparkling water and want to deep dive into the study, of course, reach out, and we'd love to walk you through that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marie-Laure. Thanks for summing up. And indeed, also this very last point, we are very satisfied about this study, and we would like to look at other categories, other products, and see what we get as results there. So before going to the questions from the audience, quick but not exhaustive conclusions to wrap up the debate, which I found very interesting. So packaging material is a strategic brand signal, not just a technical choice, not just a commodity. The study shows that the material alone shapes perception of quality, taste, sustainability, and health. So this is, I think, a point that went through all what we heard today. Emotional cues drive choice. Consumers don't just see material differences, they feel these differences, and often they feel them subconsciously and react to them also to them. And last point on glass consistently elevates brand value and product desirability. Across all dimensions, glass performs best in comparison with the materials that we have seen in the study. So I saw that there is also a question from the audience on this. If you want to explore more insights on this study, we are publishing, as we speak, a toolkit which is somewhere summarizing the key highlights of the study, the key insights of the study. The full study, the full research is confidential to the industry. So my invitation to all of you that are interested is to contact our member companies, not just OI or Veralia, who are speaking here on behalf of the industry. All our member companies have the study and are ready to collaborate with you in going through in more detail into the study and see how to action that. So let's now turn to the audience and let's see if there are some questions there. So I see, I already answered on the question about the availability of the study. You see there also, there is a link where you can download the toolkit. You can see it on the screen. But we have a question about recycling, and Montserrat Chama, I hope I pronounce it correct, and it's about recycling. Marie-Laure, do you want to take it, and maybe then we also hear Marie-Astrid point of view. So talking about recycling, do customers pay attention to sustainability in terms of glass weight? Today, green laws are forcing the industry to switch, but do people have a perception of lighter or heavier glass benefits or any other materials?
So indeed, I mean, the green laws are putting packaging waste management under stronger regulation. So the first thing, I think there's a mix between recycling, lightweighting, and things like that. But so weight is a topic, and the industry is working on lightweighting and lightweighting packaging design. So it's not just lightweighting for the sake of lightweighting. It's important to keep the design in mind, because that's what we're talking about, right? Design matters and packaging shape matters. But a lot of work is being done by the whole glass industry on lightweighting and lightweighting glass, for sure. We did not talk about weight in the study at all, so it's not like we don't necessarily have consumer insights on this. I don't know, Marie-Astrid, if you wanted to build that already.
No, we've seen in a previous research that actually the lighter weight was well accepted by consumer and with no impact on the perceived glass benefits. So I think that was a very important point for us because of the current evolution of the legal context. And the other thing I would add is that what we've seen is that if the brand communicates on the lightweighting, then that creates even a positive, even more positive perception.
Okay. So let's see if there are other questions. I'm looking on live on the debate. Maybe I'll take this question about the discrepancy between consumer perception and so voila. So I have David Van Hooverswin. Sorry for the pronunciation. So what about the discrepancy between consumer perception and actual environmental health and safety impact of certain types of packaging? Aren't brands are also looking at fact-based criteria when choosing a packaging over another? For example, its overall carbon footprint in the context of net zero objectives. Consumer perception might drive marketing strategies, but the brands also need to compromise as they need to achieve objectives which are sometimes contradictory with consumer perception. So it's a question and also a statement, a comment made. So I don't know who wants to take this question, Marie-Laure or Marie-Astrid. So a few seconds of study just to show that these questions were not prepared. So we are now reflecting on that. So do you want to take Marie-Astrid?
Yes, sorry, I'm still reading.
maybe I can help there, because I see
Yeah.
actually that there is a discrepancy between consumer perception and actual environmental and health and safety impact of certain type of packaging. Indeed, there is a discrepancy which is also fed that from communication of materials that is not always fact-based. I think that talking about our industry, we try to be as much as possible fact-based. And this study today is proving that whatever statement we try to do is fact-based. Also on carbon footprint, for example, we communicate and we do not hide behind the finger saying that CO2 emissions is an issue for our industry because we are energy intensive and we have been using so far fossil fuels. And so this is the main source of CO2 emissions. But it's also true that today the industry is actually operating and investing a lot in decarbonization and in transition to renewable energies. And this is something that we are communicating also to consumers. So our communication as an industry is always fact-based. It is also as much as possible true to consumers, because we understand also that consumers need to be driven by truth. And I don't think this is the case everywhere and always. Marie-Laure.
I wanted to build on that because indeed, I mean, the industry, we're all working with brands and companies and customers to achieve sustainability goals and roadmaps, and decarbonization is definitely part of that. I think one of the key points also is that carbon footprint is not the only measure of sustainability. And the discussion and the topic is much broader. And too often, it is being reduced to only CO2 footprint when it should not be. And so we encourage everyone to look at other criteria, including health, because health is also part of sustainability. People is part of sustainability. And this is where I think maybe consumer perception is not always that far off in the end from the full sustainability topic.
Indeed.
Just wanted to broaden
Thanks
that.
a lot. I don't know, Marie-Astrid, if you want to add anything else there.
I fully agree with this comment from Marie-Laure. This focus on CO2 is very important currently, but we really think that we need to broaden the scope, make sure we focus on the health impact and the waste impact. So that's an element which I think we can see also through the consumer perception, because there is kind of knowledge around that, intuitive knowledge that we can see there.
Thanks a lot. Let me see. We have, I think, there is a question now on Catherine. All the very, very, very challenging family names, sorry. So Van Gruderbeck. So Catherine, maybe it's better. Okay, Catherine. So I've read that drinks in glass bottles had 5 to 50 times more microplastics fragments than in plastic bottles, according to a study released by the French Food Safety Agency. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know, Marie-Laure or Marie-Astrid, otherwise I can answer on that. I'll take that because also...
You can talk about the FEVE official position.
Yeah, exactly. I can talk because I'm here as moderator, but also talking as FEVE. Yeah, probably, Catherine, you're referring to the ANSA study that was published, I think, in June. Indeed, there was a lot of noise about this study, and as an industry, we also reacted because there was an unjustified negative buzz around the study. The conclusion of the study were not communicated in the right way, and also there are some elements of the study which are still under scrutiny, because probably the evaluation of the presence of microplastics in the glass bottles was not duly rightly compared to the other bottles. But the problem is not glass. I mean, it's a countersense to say that glass contains microplastics. Glass is not plastics. Very simply, the issue comes from other part of the packaging solution, and we are working with the whole chain to find solutions. Our solutions are already being found. So it's an issue there, and along the value chain, we are collaborating to address that, to solve the problem. Voila, I don't think we have time, because we are already 10 minutes beyond. I don't know if there are other questions that we want to take. I'm just looking at the chain here. No, I think that's enough today. But in any case, you can contact us. You have all the addresses. You can contact Professor Players, Maria Street, Marie-Laure, myself, Feve, for additional questions. And above all, again, I invite you to contact our members here to discuss more on the study and to go into the details of the study. And Professor Players and Mind Insights team is there also to build on this research for new other studies. So I hope you found the debate interesting and useful. It was not a waste of time for you. So we keep in touch surely very soon on other studies, on other researches, and thank you very much to our speakers here online. Professor Players, Gordy, thank you very much. Marie-Laure, Maria Street, you made a great job with us today. So thanks a lot, and hello, and good afternoon to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.